Good evening and welcome to the City of Burbank Police Commission meeting for Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And roll call, please.
Commissioner Chapman is absent. Commissioner Cohen?
Here.
Commissioner Elman?
Here.
Commissioner Kvaisi?
Here.
Commissioner Vest?
Here.
Okay. The flag salute, would you please stand and join me for the flag salute? Place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the public comment period will be upcoming in a few minutes. To speak during that period, please call 818-238-3335. City staff will answer the phones and announce the speakers in real time to the chair when the public comment period begins. At this time, we're going to go over commission announcements and reporting out by commission subcommittees. Are there any announcements from any commissioners? Okay, seeing none, we'll take the commission subcommittee. We did have one item that we pushed over from the last meeting in April for subcommittee, which was about expansion of the Met team, something the city council wanted us to look into. And so Commissioner Elman and I have been doing some research and communicating with different parts of the program and outside programs. So I'll begin and give Commissioner Elman an opportunity also to share his information with the rest of the commission. So I contacted the Department of Mental Health for the county, and I spoke with different folks there about how they interact with the police department and how they interact in general with the city. And how we could possibly expand the program. And when I talk about expanding, I mean expanding to other parts of the city, other departments. Not moving necessarily the program, but expanding the service offered. Because I think that there were some members on the city council that were talking about having a fire department have it, or other departments have the same service. So the short of it is. In speaking with them, we found that they didn't really have any other departments within the other cities that they work with that were outside of the police department. Everything was kind of running through police departments, with the exception of the city of Pasadena, who had their fire contracting with mental health services outside of the mental health department of the county, but with the public health department of the county. And everybody else was still operating through the police department. Since then, we've had, and Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, the City Council has approved the budget for for additional staffing for the Met team and a van.
Yes, that's all a work in progress.
Okay, and so that's happened behind the scenes while we were working on this. And so now that alone is an expansion of the program. And I'll let Commissioner Elman speak about his viewpoints on it. My last point is just a couple little quick points. I asked them if they wanted to work, if they felt that they could work with other parts of the city outside of the police department. They said they'd work with anybody, but they would rather work with the police department because they have that already a working relationship. And these social workers who were going out, the clinicians that are going out, felt that it is a better fit with the police department because it makes them feel better when they do their job, realizing that if things were to get out of control, they had help there. So they're more comfortable doing their job with the police department as their counterpart. And nobody said they wanted to work outside the police department. What I was told by county staff was that on several occasions, and again, chief, if there's any more that you can add, please add it. The fire department has called into the PD saying, we need the Met team. Burbank Water and Power has even called saying needed help from the Met team. So based on that, I know that I'm going to recommend that the city not expand it outside of the police department, but maybe what's required is an internal system for the city to figure out on how we can better utilize the Met team for all departments. So you call the police, you tell them it's available already. So it's kind of already in the process. It's already happening. It's just not formalized. So that would be my recommendation from there. And I know that Commissioner Elman, you're going to speak about something with the STAR program too that we looked into. So go ahead with your report. That completes mine.
Well, it was brought to the attention of the city that there's a program in Denver called STAR. And it's an interesting program that it works very similar to us, but it's not through the police department. There's no response by an officer. It's a very new program. When the report was issued, it had only been in existence for 6 months. So I don't know how reliable the data is because there's a small database. Their mental health team handles normally 6 incidents a day, and they only work from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, no coverage on weekends. Also, of the incidents that they've responded to, 68% of them have been to unhoused individuals and 32% to housed individuals. Also, in examining their data, the vast majority of the incidents, they had 213 incidents of trespass, which the mental health team responded to. That was the main type of incident that they responded, followed by welfare checks, assists, follow-up, suicidal person, so on and so on. But a little different, I think, here in Burbank. I don't think the vast majority would be about trespassing. It's an interesting model, but it's a work in progress, and I think we should take another look at it, maybe at the end of another period of time, so we can see if the data's changed. But its main thing is it itself looks like it's successful, but it looks like it's underfunded by the city of Denver, and they are actually online asking for donations. And that's pretty much my report.
Thank you. I think that concludes it. Hopefully our liaisons are listening, and they can take some of this back to the city council. If needed, I can write something up and forward it to them as well. On to any other commission announcements. Commission, nothing. Go to oral communications. Any callers? No callers. Okay. Commission response to public comments. Since there's none, we'll move to approval of the minutes from April 21st, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve? Commissioner Elman?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Second. Anybody have any objections? All in favor? Okay, then it's Commissioner Elman?
No, I'm just
Okay, everybody is in favor. Motion
Yeah.
passes. Okay, new items of business. More items of business, discuss and define how the public communicates with the commission. Examples are email dissemination, and to establish an identity independent of the police department. One of the examples is current use of the police department letterhead for the commission business, and identify any other procedural practices that may need further evaluation. Any discussion on that? This was brought, basically, we have letterhead on the police department letterhead, and that's how our agenda goes out, I guess, in trying to be independent, so it doesn't appear to the public that we are part of the police department. It's suggested that we either change it, or, I mean, we can even keep it, or eliminate it completely, do the best practices, whatever all the other commissions are doing, just so that we are uniform with what the other commissions are doing. I see a comment from City Attorney's Office. Go ahead, Ms. O.
After our last meeting, I actually went back and I looked at what other committees and commissions do for their letterhead. That there's some variance, but in general, many of them just simply state who they are. So instead of having the Burbank Police Department with the police shield as a logo on top, we could change your letterhead to simply say the Burbank Police Commission. And that way there would not be a reference to the police department. Some of the information may still be the same depending on what you decide in terms of how you communicate to the public. For example, the address, phone numbers, but at the very least, we could change the letterhead so that it doesn't say the police department, it just references the commission, which is how a lot of the other boards and commissions have their correspondence and their agendas.
Okay, any comments on that or suggestions? Commissioner Cohen?
Yeah, well, I think I brought this up a couple months ago. If the commission is to truly be independent and we work for the city council, they should be doing the secretarial work and they should be sending out all this stuff. Because if you want to look independent, I don't have any problem with what we're doing, but if you really want to look independent, it should be independent, and it should be from who our bosses are, so to speak, which would be the city council. They're the ones asking us to do this, that, and the other thing.
Commissioner Vest?
I know a couple of years ago I had discussed like potentially setting up some communication for us in terms of like maybe social media, things of that nature. But again, there's also a Brown Act issue with who can engage with it and in terms of how you respond back and what we respond to and just different issues. So I think there's a little bit of red tape that's out of our hands at this point.
City Attorney's Office, Ms. O?
Yes, to comment on Commissioner Vest's statement. So in past discussions where there have been some suggestions of either giving out your own individual private cell phone numbers or setting up private email accounts, Commissioner Vest does identify some of the issues. There are Brown Act issues because everything that you do as a public body is open to the public. One of the things that you should consider is if you want to change the phone number, for example, to give your personal number instead of going through the police department, you have an issue of potentially subjecting your personal phone to subpoenas and Brown Act requests because now you've mixed official business with your own personal device. So there are all of those issues to work out as well. It's not to say things can't be worked out, but it may not be as easy or clear cut as one might think at the get-go.
So what if they just changed, like what I'm looking at a different agenda here. I have a different agenda. I have one agenda that's got the Burbank Police Department letterhead on it, and then I've got another one that doesn't, and it just starts out with City of Burbank regular meeting of the Burbank Police Commission. What if it just said City of Burbank Police Commission retained the same address since we are functioning out of the police department and utilizing the staff? Never change, not change the phone number and keep the email the same. What difficulties are there in just changing the title and nothing else?
That would be very easy to do and very doable. we could start that from the next meeting.
Is
If
that,
that's
is
what
that
you-
something that the commission would entertain? I do get your point, Commissioner Cohen, that it's not the independent, but, you know, it might be a start for something. Who knows? Any other comments on it, or do we need to vote on it? Ms. O, do we need to vote on this?
I would say yes, because I want to make sure that it is the act of the body at large.
Okay.
People are quiet, so it's hard to get a feel. Sometimes from your discussions, it's clear that everybody is of like mind, so a vote's not necessary. But in this particular case, Commissioner Cohen has had expressed different feelings, and I'm not exactly sure what the consensus is, so it would be good to either have further discussion or to at least take a vote so we're clear about what we're doing.
Okay, then, any other discussion? Commissioner Vest?
I guess my only suggestion is if we're so insistent upon our separation from the department and the appearance that we are an independent body, then that's up to the city council to remedy. If that's something that they want, then they need to change the rules regarding it and whatever that entails.
Okay, and one last question to Ms. O. So are there guidelines, or, I think you mentioned it already, I just want to re-clarify it, for boards and commissions to have a certain type of letterhead?
I am not aware that there's been any rule, regulation, guideline about what the how your letterhead should look. I think the commission predates the existence of all of us at this commission. So all that to say is I don't know how it came about that it looks like this. But I don't believe it's because that there's a mandate that it look like this, that the Burbank Police Department letterhead is utilized as your agenda letterhead. When I looked at all the other boards and commissions, many of them did not reference the department with which they work. It referenced just their own body. For example, the planning board, right? Just says planning board. It doesn't say community development department planning board. So I don't believe that this is a change that the council needs to approve. If this is how you aesthetically want it to look, because you believe that just the title and the appearance of your agenda itself does not lend itself to separation from the police department, I think this is something that you can easily decide to change, and we can make, as staff, we can make the change without having to go to council to approve it, because aesthetically, it's just aesthetics about how you want it to appear. You're not changing the substance of your responsibilities or duties.
Okay. Commissioner Vest?
Yeah, no, I mean, a letterhead's a letterhead, but I think that the initial discussion point on this was far more than a letterhead. And it was about the fact that our communication solely goes through the department prior to us receiving it. And I think that was the initial where we started. So change the letterhead, that's fine. But I'm talking about anything beyond a letterhead. If there's concern of the fact that we're getting filtered information, then that's up to them to deal with. That's not something we can do other than changing a letterhead.
Commissioner Elman?
Ms. O, with your, looking at other commissions in other cities, do you have any information on can you hear me?
Yes, to clarify, Mr. Elman, I was looking at our city. I didn't look at other cities.
Okay. I guess my question then broadly is, other police commissions, is their email box part of the police department, or is it independent of the police department? So I'm saying who gets to read it first?
It depends on the police commission that you are looking at. All these police commissions are so vastly different. It is very difficult to make a direct comparison. For example, in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Police Commission is completely different than what we have in our city. What they do is different, how they're made up, how they're appointed, how they're funded, how they're staffed. It's impossible to make a comparison. I hesitate to tell you what everybody else does because I haven't looked at anybody else.
I just think, I don't think it's asking too much to have control over our own email box.
I do agree, however, with Commissioner Vest that that's a decision the council should make, because when they make a decision, it doesn't just impact the police commission. They look at all boards and commissions. And the fact that if something is done for one, what are they going to do about all of the others? Is this something that they're going to do for all the other boards and commissions, or just police commission? So again, the decision making is not necessarily as clean cut and simple as one would initially think. But I do agree with Commissioner Vest in that regard, that that should then be a decision for council.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yeah, I think it is a council issue, but, you know, the police commission is really quite a different animal than all other commissions. With what's going on in the world today, transparency and the appearance of everything being on the up and up is very important to an organization like a police commission, more so than the planning commission or the water board or whatever, the arts in public places. So I would recommend that the council study this, and not only for the benefit of the appearance, but you know, we could take a lot of burden if we had somebody assigned out of City Hall to deal with this stuff, instead of having the police department, who are very busy, they're overworked, they don't have enough people, do some of this stuff that we do.
So I'm going to echo what Commissioner Cohen said, and add just to it that this isn't, in my view, it's not anything personal towards the police department. I think it's more of protecting the police department from the actions of the police commission, because I could see the police commission, at some point taking a different look at things that may not be the same viewpoint as the police department holding. The other thing too, with regards to the email is that's a lot of pressure to put on the police department receiving police commission emails. And let's say there's a glitch in that system, it holds people responsible internally for not forwarding that information to the police commission, or if there's a technological glitch. So, but I do agree with Commissioner Vest that it's kind of a city council issue, and with regards to what the city attorney's office information we're being given is. Really, it is the city council thing. If the city council wants to have an independent police commission, then that's what they need to do. Not necessarily leave it to us to make it appear independent, but to actually have the city council take action, make it independent, go with what Commissioner Cohen is saying, and having staff outside the police department staff for the commission. So. At this point, I think I'm leaning towards just leave it as it is and let the city council study it and make a determination on what type of police commission they want, rather than have the police commission try to form an identity, as it says here. So any more discussion on it? Any suggestions on which way to go here? I mean, we've kind of hear clear positions, but so we just leave it as is and move along. And the city council's listening, so they, Ms. O, go ahead.
Are you going to be making a recommendation, or just rely on the attendees, the liaisons from the commission?
I mean, can I make a recommendation and say, a motion that the city council study the independence of the police commission and how their communications should be handled, and leave it on them to do that?
Are you making a motion?
I mean, am I able to make a motion like that and just
Of course, you
Okay,
can make
so-
a motion.
so
Are we
then-
talking also about the letterhead, or have you
I'm
decided?
gonna put it all together and say, my motion will be that if the city council should study how, and if they want to make the police commission independent, how they can do that by including ways for the public to communicate with the commission and the commission letterhead. And then they can make a determination. That would be it. I guess I could reword that a little bit.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Cohen?
Yeah, I just think the wording should include whether or not having someone in another part of the organization do our communications as opposed to the police department. Because if we just say, yeah.
I'm glad to
we're
amend that into
independent,
there.
I think we ought to specify that.
Let's see if we can reword it then. So then, motion to ask the city council to look into assigning staff outside of the police department to support the commission and to identify how the commission should receive communication, and I guess letterhead would be how the commission communicates with the public, and whether it should stay the same or be completely independent. Is that good? Okay, so that's my motion. Do I have a second? Commissioner Elman, seconds. All in favor? Any opposition? It passes. Okay, next item. General announcements by the police chief. Chief LaChasse, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. First, I'd like to make a comment on an elevation in crime. It's up about 7% right now, year to date, and that is of concern, although the crime is generally property crime, which is separate and apart from violent crime. But many of the drivers are catalytic converters and other items of property that are left unsecured, whether it's in a vehicle, in a home, in a yard, or in a parking lot somewhere. So I say that because a lot of what does occur is actually preventable, so we just need to think ahead and then be vigilant. So if you see something, say something, and that means call the police. But just secure whatever property you have. We do live in a safe city. But there are people that come from outside the city, generally speaking, in order to commit particularly property crime. So that is on the uptick. But at the same time that is occurring, I think one very enviable stat is the fact that our response times to emergency calls comes in at 2 minutes and 53 seconds, which is faster than the fire department gets there and is faster than any police department I currently know of in the area. So that is a good thing. And then the typical response time on an average call is about 14 and a half minutes, which again is very commendable. So what I would like to do is really thank our officers for being vigilant out there, and for the supervisors and watch commanders that keep the focus on getting to calls quickly and then handling them swiftly and effectively. So that being said, the next item I'd like to talk about is National Night Out. We missed last year. That's the first Tuesday in August. That will occur this year. So what we will do is have our website with Sergeant Emil Brimway loaded with information. And we're always looking for new residences and neighbors that want to sponsor events at their homes or at institutions that they may be members of. So that is something that is far enough out there that we need to start thinking about it now so we can do our planning. But it's great that we can get back online. Another item is just as recently as yesterday, the COVID restrictions have basically been lifted. There are new rules, so you can go on our website, burbankpd.org, and get that information. But basically, there's too much information to provide right now, but I would just like to refer all parties to it. And we're now moving on, and those new restrictions, and there are some restrictions, pertain to businesses, where businesses have the option of applying more restrictive standards than other businesses may have. So that's at the option of those businesses. So go online, and it'll be very clear to you as you read those basic items. Next thing I'd like to talk about is that this is going to be my last meeting, as well as some other folks here. So this has been a great opportunity, and a great opportunity for service. And we are facing unprecedented times right now, so I would just like to throw out a little bit of my personal philosophy, and that is that, yes, we are facing challenges, but I think we, by remaining positive and remaining resilient, can certainly get through this. And we, as a society, can do better. It's a matter of us wanting to communicate with other people and keeping an open mind and having a dialogue. And not letting emotion get the best of us. So I say that because I really think it is important for us to remain resilient and change where change is necessary. But secondly, be optimistic, be positive. There are better days out there. All of us in this room have gone through personal crises, professional crises, and we survived. Here we are. We're better people for it. So as my going away advice, I think it is appropriate for all of us to try to regroup and think about the value of our community. And what we don't want to do is let each other down and form separate groups, so to speak. So with that, I believe the one other thing I'd like to add before I go, and that relates to our discussion about mental health, and that is I commit to you, to the citizens in the community, that we have not adopted a one-size-fits-all approach to mental health services. We are constantly on the lookout for new and better ways of doing business. A part of our core values is continuous improvement, and that's something that where we go out and really harvest best practices. While I appreciate that this commission has been very supportive and very vigilant in trying to find new ways that we can deliver services, that is a part of our fabric. So when we learned about the CAHOOTS program in Oregon, about what's going on in Denver, we immediately launched into analyses of those various programs. So that's something that we're going to continue to do. And what we're doing today is probably going to be changed in another year from now, but that's what we're all about. So again, I know there are people in the community that have recommendations. It's a part of your responsibilities to accept those comments, but at the same time, we will do our own analyses and work with the County Department of Mental Health, and we're here for the community. So it's the best way we can provide service. We do realize that times change, tactics change, there are new research studies out there, so we'll change with the times when it's appropriate. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And on behalf of the Police Commission, we thank you for your service to the community. And we realized that when you came in here, it was a tough time. And we know how tight-knit the community is, and I think we've seen the difference that you've brought, and we appreciate all that you've done, and we wish you the best.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate working with the community and each and every one of the commissioners, past and present. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that said, next item is introduction of agenda items for future meetings. Any introduction of items? Well, with none then, our next meeting is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. And with that, we'll adjourn. Meeting adjourned.